Hey everyone, I'm Breanna from Boom, and welcome to Boom Chat. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dan Panosian and Giorgio Spalletta, the mad brilliant creators behind the brand new 5-issue series, Alice Ever After. Alice first visited Wonderland as a child. Now grown up, it's become her only escape from a cold, harsh world that feels even less real. A distant family, a tormented lover, and a father with secrets he'll do anything to protect. But in order to return to her fantasy, Alice will need something much stronger than mushrooms. Cursed with a growing addiction, Alice is forced into the twisted underbelly of London and pulled ever further from reality. Is her obsession with Wonderland truly a respite or a one-way ticket to the dreaded asylum? Dan and Giorgio, okay. Oh my gosh. Creepy, wonderful, twisted. I'm going, shall we say, mad over this first issue. I'm so excited to see where this goes. I can totally tell it's going to get dark. Dan, I'm going to ask you first, what excited you most about working on this project?
Well, I've always loved this story as a kid, and I've always thought about, as you get older, you think about, well, what happens with Alice? Does she ever get to go back? And then, of course, you might read the Lewis Carroll tales and you're like, okay, now I've read that, now I want more. So I was like, well, I don't think there's going to be any more from that gentleman, so we might have to do it ourselves. And of course, this is a fictional take on a fictional story, so it's one direction.
Giorgio, what excited you most about working on this project?
I'm really excited because for me, this is the first time I'm working on a entire series for USA, and until recently I would have never imagined to work to collaborate with them. For me, who has always been a reference, and it's incredible that a comic book drawn by me had covers by Jenny Friesen and Scott Campbell. For me, this is a dream coming true. The project is fantastic, and I have the opportunity to express myself at my best. And I think it's a perfect story for the time we are living in, because I'm a teacher too. I teach in the same school where I studied, so I work with a lot of teenagers, and these 2 years of isolation are very hard, certainly for, in particular way for young people. So they found their Wonderland in art and in comic book, and I showed them in preview the first pages of Alice, and they told me that it's already their favorite comic book. And then they asked me if I will go to jail for showing them the pages in preview. I hope not.
No, I think it's fine. I think whatever gives kids inspiration, like, I think that's super important. And then finding out that they can get sort of a respite from all of this mess in art, I think that's beautiful. And I think that's exactly what art is meant to be for. So I think you did the right thing. We won't tell anyone. So Dan, this story takes place in Victorian London. It's a place that's just as vibrant as it is menacing. What went into choosing the setting for the series? Why Victorian London?
Well, I mean, if you're a Alice purist, and there's so many people like that, I mean, you would think the story would take place in perhaps Oxford. But I think for our purposes and the purposes of how Alice's life materializes as she gets older, how we've kind of arrived on that, London's a little bit better setting because it gives us more opportunity for, like you said, you have it's a lot like modern day London in a sense, or modern day New York, and it's much more relatable, I think, to an audience, and it just gives us a lot of interesting opportunities story wise. So
it's so rich and it offers these like amazing backgrounds. And I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the art is just so gorgeous and beautiful.
Oh my
And
God, it's fantastic. I mean,
yes,
it's a dream team. We have Giorgio, who's, like he was saying, he's having a lot of fun with the expressions and storytelling and the acting that these all the characters are going through. And you know, not to, you know, speak ill of any other comic books, but you don't always see great acting in comics. Like, and what we want to do when we're reading a story is relate. And the way we relate is going, oh, I feel the same way that character feels. And if you can see those and feel those expressions on the people, it makes the story that much more, you know, inviting and pulls you in more. So not only do we have Giorgio who has that innate quality to him, he just brings it naturally, but we also have Fabiana, and Fabiana is, and I've worked with her before on Ravens. She's very versatile too, and we'll get into her versatility and how that affects Giorgio's art, who does the bulk of all the artwork. I do a tiny little piece in each book, but she's able to create two different worlds with her color, and she's fantastic, and she's very excited about the project. So
this whole team of creators is amazing. But Dan, you just led me perfectly into my next question for Giorgio.
okay.
So Dan, I hear that you created the designs for the main characters, and that really helps define the tone. But Giorgio, what was that like for you? How did you take these character designs and bring your own style to them? How did they influence you when you were doing new characters? What was that whole process like for you?
Yeah, like I said, Dan has always been a reference for me. So here I work with his comic book on my desk. So I really like Dan's style as an artist and as a writer too. So when I work, I always have the Dan concepts in front of me, and I've been very influenced by them, certainly in the acting of the characters, because I really like the way he deforms the faces and the head to underline certain expressions. So I try to bring this in my comic book. For the character I created here, like Claude, the El-Proud's nephew, I imagined young and innocent Alice. So I tried to use a few marks on her to underline this aspect of this character. And Amish, the shopkeeper at the beginning of the story, is inspired by the owner of the restaurant where I used to work as a waiter some years ago.
Oh, I love that you're taking stuff from your own experiences and bringing it in and just like folding it into what you've got with Dan. And I mean, like he said, the expressions on these characters, like I can really tell what's going on with them when I am looking at these pages, and it just comes through so beautifully. And so the two of you together and the colors that Fabiana does are it's all just a dream team, and it's just beautiful. I cannot wait for fans to take a look at it. And so speaking of Fabiana, one of the other amazing, beautiful, shall we say, alluring aspects of this first issue are how vibrant the colors are. Oh my gosh. I know you both have like a wonderful relationship with her, with Fabiana Mascolo. Are they more or less what you were imagining when you were working on your parts of the books, or did she just completely surprise you and you're like, oh my gosh?
Well, if I could speak, because I'm so excited and I'm a fan of what Giorgio is doing and what Fabiana is doing. When I saw the black and white pages, obviously, and I was like, oh my God, this is a fantastic choice. You know, he nailed every single thing, and you feel brought into the world, and I mean that's obviously very important. And then when Fabiana brought the colors, I'm like, oh my God, this book is going to this book is going to be sensational. Like it's really an attractive, it looks like a classic already, honestly, with the two of them on that. I sound like I'm gushing, and I'm sure every interview the writer is gushing over the artwork, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I look at this stuff and I immediately call my wife over and my son, and we're looking at it. And he's a harsh critic. My son's 7 years old, and he's always pointing out little things, and he loves it. So that's nice to hear, and it's nice to get that response. And it's nice when two artists like Giorgio and Fabiana's style work so well together. I didn't know what to expect from Fabiana. I knew it would be great based on the work I've seen her do, and it's very, very, like I said, a lot of variety. But they must have worked on it together. So I'll let them speak. I'll let Giorgio speak on that, because I'd like to hear how they came up with that process.
Yeah, Fabiana is a friend. And we studied in the same academy, the same years. So we grown up together. And here in Italy, we started working on the same series, both as an artist. It was an Italian series called Caput Mundi, and I've always appreciated Fabiana as an artist, but seeing her work on Raven, on Marianna Ignazzi's pages, I couldn't ask for a better colorist for this project. I like the way she used flat colors with few shadows, and I don't like when there are too much effects on a pages. So I think that this simple way of working matches perfectly with my pages. When we started this project, working on this project, we met with Marianna as well, and we discussed about the tone we want for the series, and we keep in touch. We're keeping in touch, and we have a continuous exchange of ideas. But Fabiana is always a surprise for this comic book. She's watching at the backgrounds of another Disney classic that this 101 Dalmatans. It's the right title. Yeah. And I think that her work makes the most of my drawings.
100%. Now you're spoiled, Giorgio. Right?
Don't give away all the secrets. You just keep working with her. That's it. You guys are a package deal from now on. That's it.
It was really nice to see. At one point, Giorgio sent me a picture of Mariana and Fabiana, all of them together waving. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. It's wonderful to see that.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. I love that so many of you are actually friends. And so like you all run in the same circles, but your friend, like that's gotta be so fun working with your friend, right?
Yeah, of course. And fortunately, we are all from Rome, so we have a lot of situation. We are together, and Mariana is one of my favorite artists too, because she has my same influences. I think she's the new Alex Toth.
Yeah, she's an incredible artist.
Oh.
It's incredible.
I love it.
I discovered her on Instagram, actually, years ago.
It's all about how you utilize that social media. Like, just put everything that you're doing out there. Somebody's gonna see it, and then like look at what we're doing now. So that I love it.
Yeah. Mariana's on. I think Mariana's doing Buffy. She's doing. I mean, I'm sure Boom is never going to try to let her go. They're going to keep her as much as they can. So we
try. We're like, no, we're there. You guys are so good. Don't leave us. But also, people need to expand and fly and all of that. But Okay, so something else that I found that was really cool and unique about this was there is a distinct difference in art styles between the real world and Wonderland. And I know, Giorgio, you are the main artist, but Dan, I heard that you actually do the Wonderland pages. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What?
Originally, I really wanted to see Adam Hughes doing the interiors for Wonderland. I thought that would be amazing. But, Adam is probably one of the busiest artists, and, everybody wants him to do covers. He takes his time, and that's why it looks so good. So the Boom editors, we have great editors on the project. I said, well, all right, we're gonna get them. Would you do it? And I'm like, of course I would. And it's, Wonderland's a different style than what I usually draw into, because it's more magical. It has aspects of Wally Wood, like the trees all have that. They all are basically olive trees, and it's, the leaves are maybe a little different than what we see in reality. There's mushrooms everywhere. It's a lot of fun to do. It's a lot of stuff to cram in 3 or 4 pages each issue. With Fabiana doing the colors, that even she changes her style on those pages as opposed to the stuff she does with Giorgio. So it really even helps separate those two worlds even further.
There's this lovely fuzzy quality with those colors that just it gives it it feels like a dream. Like it feels like a dream. It feels like somewhere else. So there is a very clear distinction between the two, which is super cool. But Giorgio, I wanted to ask you, after seeing the way that Dan does Wonderland, did that affect anything that you've done moving forward on subsequent issues?
Yeah. The effect was that I have been depressed for a few days. No, I'm joking. Unfortunately, I saw Dan's pages after I closed the first issue. So I wanted to redraw the whole first issue from scratch.
Oh no.
No, I'm sorry, but I'm my own harshest critic. But I think the final result is incredible. I think the reader will be amazed when he enters in Wonderland, and the effect is really incredible. And I hope that Dan is as satisfied as I am. Yeah, it's
very
really
much
cool.
so. I mean, I couldn't be happier with it. It's a pleasure to see the pages come in. It's better than I would have ever expected for this series. I mean, that's rare that you can have that sort of product. So I'm very fortunate. I feel blessed in this way.
The things that I really like of your pages is that they are really influenced by the classic illustration of Arthur Rackham.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same, and he is an incredible artist. I studied when I was at the academy, so I really like the style of your line art matches with the colors of Fabiana, more classic. It's incredible. It's really incredible.
Oh, thanks, Giorgio. I really appreciate that. I like the Arthur Rackham reference too. So he did fantastic. Arthur Rackham is a artist that influenced artists that we might know in present day comic books like Michael Kaluta and Charles Vess. And he did his own book plates for an Alice in Wonderland edition at one point. And those are personally my favorite ones. They really immerse you into this fantasy world. I think also Alan Lee is another artist that did a lot of Lord of the Rings art, also influenced by Arthur Rackham. So he's the preeminent sort of artist for that time period too. So thanks, Giorgio. I appreciate that.
We have the same influences, I think.
I love this. We're getting artists together, getting you two chatting and gushing over each other. I love it. I love it when everybody gets to just build each other up. Okay, so a couple more questions. Dan, there have always been metaphors and references to drugs and hallucinogens and different versions of Alice in Wonderland. But this one really seems to focus and dig into that aspect of drug abuse and how it has affected Alice. I would like to know, why did you feel that it was important to explore that in a story like this?
Well, first of all, at that time period in history, drugs like heroin and cocaine, even all these things were remedies for colds or if you had the flu. It's a very strange time period. Laudanum, for instance, is you see it in Tombstone, but it's also, if you ever watched the Peter Pan classic, again, a Disney film, Nanny the dog, Nana, comes and brings it with a little spoon. She's feeding all the children laudanum right before they start dreaming and then dreaming about going off to Never Never Land. So these things had an influence. Parents used that to calm their children down and put them to sleep. But like anything, coffee, I mean, it becomes addictive. And so in this story, we discover kind of
coffee. I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I want.
Every day I tell myself, you know what, let's try today without it. It's like tomorrow. But in this story, I thought, these things happen. They, scientifically and in a social way, we weren't aware of these problems. And there's always, like you mentioned, there's always people going, oh, it's a drug trip, it's this and that. And I'm like, that's an interesting, that always fascinated me, and overcoming that. But what I really want to explore is the reasons why, if children were introduced to laudanum and different forms of these drugs as children, they aren't all addicted, as they grow up to be adults, turn of the century. But why is Alice still a part of this world and yearning to go back to Wonderland, basically yearning for those things? Why is she addicted? And so I wanted to get down to those reasons and explore addiction in that way. So it's a very dark tale, but it's still, and even though it takes place in around 1890, it's still something that we deal with presently, all of us. And even if in small ways, like say coffee, I don't know, but obviously in big ways, we might have people in our families who have addiction problems, and it's not always a black and white problem. It's not always something like that can be explained in simple terms. There's reasons for things, and I don't know. I could go on forever, Breanna. I'm gonna go crazy.
I love it when comics also have like a deeper meaning and brings light to different issues. So drug abuse is a real problem, and getting help for it is obviously nothing to be ashamed of. We all are different. Like, we all have different levels of addictive personalities. So you never know. And so I love it when we are taking away like some of the obviously like drug addiction is very, very important, but getting help is always something that like should not have a stigma attached to it. So I feel like when you have stories like this, where, you see that this person does need help, it makes it less of a taboo discussion. For maybe somebody picks it up and reads it and says like, I want to talk to my friend, or I want to talk to, a family member. And I think that's what's really important, that gets to be taken away from things like this. And so I think what y'all are doing not only is wonderful entertainment and a wonderful retelling of this story, but also like could maybe help somebody at the same time. And I think that's beautiful too.
That would be great if
that would be
happened. Yeah.
You never know. All right. So one more question for y'all. So it's only the first issue. Alice has already seen some very traumatizing events that then influence her to make some, shall we say, curiouser decisions in the end. Without giving too much away, Giorgio and Dan, can we expect darker things ahead for Alice?
Yeah, I'm almost finished the second issue, so the story is becoming more dark and claustrophobic, and I really like horror and noir comics. So the story is becoming really, really dark and horror, and I love it. Yeah, and we are going to discover how deep could be the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a very dark story. It's a horror story basically, but under the guise of a children's classics. So it's an unusual way to bring that. And I think that's what might make it a little bit more scary, because we have all these thoughts and imagination tied into when we first were introduced to Alice. So now we see it as an adult. It's almost now we're re-seeing it for the first time. And like when I'm writing it, I'm excited to see what Giorgio does. Like, I'm like, well, here's an artist and a team of artists that can bring this to perfect light. So it's exciting. It's very fun.
I'm so thrilled. All right, Dan, Giorgio, thank you both so much for your time today. It has been so great chatting with you. And for those of you watching at home, be sure to pick up Alice Ever After in stores now. If you want to stay up to date on all of our amazing content, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that notification button.